takes a chariot in the midst of both armies. And last verse we discussed how Krishna is referred as infallible, Achyuta, and there was a lot of discussion. And here Prabhupada takes opportunity to explain one more word for Arjuna, Gudakesha. Nowadays what happens, we give so many words, many times it is just flattery. And people also, Swamis also take big names and big words. But it doesn't mean anything. But Arjuna, when it refers as Gudakesha, it means something. Gudaka, Isha. Isha means the control. Gudaka means the ignorance. And Prabhupada said, both sleep and ignorance. In fact, the exact meaning is sleep for Gudaka. Gudaka means sleep. And a person who conquers over sleep or ignorance is called Gudakesha. So how Arjuna is both? One thing, because he is completely Krishna conscious. Even in sleep, he is thinking about Krishna. Us, what happens when we are in sleep? We completely forget everything. Sometimes we joke. What you are, you see in the sleep. What you want to be, you see in the day. So in the daytime, you may put up a posture, what I want to be. But in the sleep, what you are, you can daily see. What is my consciousness still? Because that time the control is reduced. Just like many times people drink. What is there inside comes out. Because they lose control over themselves. Sattvic man sleeps, Rasic man sings, and Tamasic man abuses, meaning drinks. You can know what is inside, Sattvic, Rasic or Tamasic. You don't want to do that experiment.
Sattvic by drinks.
Huh?
Sattvic by drinks.
No, I will not drink, but if forcefully make him drink somehow, he will feel embarrassed and he will just lie down. Rasic man starts, actually it's not only drinking, any material desire when it comes to the heart of a Sattvic man, he is embarrassed. He doesn't want to show himself to anybody, he just lies down. Rasic man thinks, that is wonderful, that's all I wanted. He starts singing. And a Tamasic man, he goes mad and he starts abusing. So anyway, the point here was in the sleep time, similarly we can see what we are by our condition. But a pure devotee, because he is thoroughly to the core of the heart, is fully washed, even in sleep he thinks about Krishna. Therefore he has conquered sleep. In the sense it's not that he doesn't sleep, he has conquered sleep. Because sleep brings you ignorance. Therefore when after you are slept and you get up, you are supposed to bathe yourself, wash all your clothes, because this full tamoguna has come into your system. Take bath and then do anything. After sleeping you cannot go to altar. You have to take bath, wear fresh clothes and go. It's considered all muchi. Correct? But a pure devotee, even if he is sleeping, that is place he comes and sleeps somewhere, that room also becomes Dhama. Because there also he was Samadhi of Krishna. That's matter. Actually, we have to make a choice. It is not that these things are impossible over a period of time, but we are not deciding to have them. You can get something if you want. So we should want that. So at least in the daytime we think about Krishna. Night it comes later. And then the second part is that he has conquered ignorance because of his Krishna consciousness. Somebody who is Krishna conscious actually has no ignorance. He knows everything. Just like in the morning I was discussing, Prabhupada said that when he went to MIT college, he said, do you know the difference between dead body and a living body? Do you have a department to study that? They did not understand what it means. It has a very deep meaning. Very deep meaning. Not only consciousness, even the matter behaves differently when consciousness is present. And if you study it with all your intellect, you may get a lead, some new lead today. That a matter behaves strangely when consciousness is present. With experimental measure, you can't measure consciousness with experimental measure. You can't. You can always see matter. But the point is, matter behaves in a different way when consciousness is present. just to create a revolution in science. He asked them to do it because they can do it. They have funds. Can you research? He told them, but they thought something Swamiji is telling. But actually, because you know Krishna, devotee knows everything. He knows even science. He knows every department of knowledge because just like fundamentals and everything, you can derive everything. Suppose you know very nice grammar, then you can always speak nicely in any language. But you don't know the fundamentals first. Without knowing properly grammar, you speak any language, you cannot do justice to that knowledge. You speak nonsense. Similarly, when a devotee knows the fundamental, the original source Krishna, he knows everything. That is the point here. So Arjuna also was having no ignorance. Even in the military art, you see, everything was evident. Everything what has to be done. Because he knows Krishna. So no ignorance. Any biggest ignorance is lack of Krishna consciousness. He never had that. Bhishma, Drona, Pramukataha,
Bhishma, Drona, Pramukataha,
Sarvesham cha Mahishita,
Sarvesham cha Mahishita,
Uvacha Partha Pasyaita,
Uvacha Partha Pasyaitya,
Samavetan Kuruniti.
Samavetan Kuruniti.
In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, all the chieftains of the world, Rishikesh of the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus who are assembled here.
As the super soul of living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what is going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of the word Rishikesh in this connection indicates that he knew everything. And the word Partha, or the son of Kunti, or Pritha, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the chariot of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicated by the Lord in friendly joking.
Now here Krishna first time enters the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, the first statement is coming. It says, Pashya. Just see, just behold. Just behold. The first word from Krishna. Uvacha Partha Pasyaita. I'm sorry. So Uvacha, he said Krishna. The first thing Krishna says in Gita is Pashya. Arjuna just see. And knowing and as a friend, not only as a friend, knowing as a Lord completely what is the situation of the mind, Krishna said, Arjuna just see. And he knew what is going to happen to him. So he has predicted his mind. Tatra Pashya Sthitam Partha,
Tatra Pashya Sthitam Partha,
Pitrinata Pitamaha,
Pitrinata Pitamaha,
Acharyan Matulam Bhratrin,
Acharyan Matulam Bhratre,
Putran Pautran Sakim Sata,
Putran Pautran Sakim Sata,
Swashuran Suhridaschaiva,
Sasuran Sudrachaiva,
Seniyor Api.
Seniyor Uvayorapi.
Then Arjuna said, see within the midst of the armies. Then Arjuna could see within the midst of armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers all present there.
On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Guru Shrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Krithavarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends.
Now Prabhupada has gone to the detail and he said some people who like his fathers, which are in the category of his father's age, like Bhurishwara, Grandfathers, he has located that. There is Bhishma and Somadatta. And teacher, Dronacharya and Kripacharya, there is the platform of the teachers. Maternal uncles, he got Shalya and Shakuni, yes. And the brothers, like Duryodhana. Sons, like Lakshmana. Grand friends, like Ashwatthama. Like that, he has gone to, trying to locate by this shloka as a refrain. What is it? Huh?
His father-in-law.
Who is that?
The shloka did mention his father-in-law.
His fathers, grandfathers,
In the shloka.
also his father-in-law and well-wishers all present there. Father-in-law was, how many? He had many wives. Which wife you are referring to? One is the Drupad. Drupad has come, but Drupad only was in his side only. He was fighting with him. Drupad is there.
Duryodhana's father-in-law is Samadhanama.
If you take the cousins, then it comes. Because previously it is joint family. The father-in-law only doesn't mean my wives, even brothers.
And uncle is Shakuni, because Shakuni is like that. Shakuni is actually his uncle.
Yeah, Shakuni is actually not his directly uncle. She's Duryodhana's mother's brothers, like that we get. Yeah, just like fathers also, not his father only, the category also. Okay, so he saw all relatives there. तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेयः
तान् समीक्षाय कौन्तेय
सर्वान् बन्धून् अवस्थितान्
सर्वान् बन्धून् अवस्थितान्
कृपया पर्योविष्टो
कृपया पर्योविष्टो
विषीदन् इदम् अब्रवीत्.
विषितानिदम् अब्रवीत्.
Son of Kunti, Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives. He became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Arjuna vacha Vishwevam Swajanam Krishna
Vishwevam Swajanam Krishna
Yussum Samupasitam
Yusyum Samuvasthitam
Sidanti Mama Gatrani
Sidanti Mama Gatrani
Mukham cha Paryushyati
Mukham cha Parishyati
Mukham cha Parishyati.
Mukham cha Parishyati.
Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and a mouth drying up.
Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in demigods, whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualification, by education and culture lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as the soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning. But he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically, the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but that he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said therefore, Yasyati bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarve gunaistatra samasti suraha aram abhaktasya pujo mahatmuna manorathi nashati tavato balihi. One who has unflinching devotion to the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavatam 5:8-12.
Now, nice point here comes is that Krishna had predicted already. Just see, and what he predicted happened. And Prabhupada says even tears come to his eyes. That's true. The first shloka in the second chapter is there. Tam tadaka priyamishram ashubho nachalesham. Tears come on his eyes. It breaks down. And Prabhupada in a lecture on the shloka spends a lot of time explaining this word called swajana. Prabhupada, all the problem is this swajana. My own men. This kind of an attachment that we have, just like we see, and definitely when we see extended to the extent of communities, the election time in India even now, it is just based on community. Ye mera aadmi, and people give vote for him. And we say, why it should be based on the merit of the person, why on this? Even sometimes we have some post, some promotion, something. And ye mera aadmi, nepotism that we call in English, which is now also not considered good. This swajana concept itself is actually philosophically wrong. Because the Vedic philosophy is imagined so advanced. Swajana concept, my own men. My own men. This is not a best platform to live in. Therefore, people used to say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Prabhupada used to therefore be very, very careful around the world. When people used to say in India, Prabhupada used to say, why you bring India here? He's very careful, that's a very important point. He used to never bring it. So he said, no, he kept his movement as an international movement. He said international society, he kept it as an international society. He said many times, in India, many spiritual societies, in India they decry the West, they condemn them. But when they go there, there's a sisters and brothers. Be one. Not that in India we say they are like that, they are trying to do that, or that religion is bad. When you talk to them, you talk politely, diplomatically. No. Acharya has no diplomatic behavior, he's straightforward. The platform in which he preached Prabhupada, he said, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't say, Yada yada Hindu dharma saglani. Krishna says, Yada yada dharma saglani. Don't bring this Hindu, don't bring this Indian, don't bring this cripple-minded attitude. I am good, my countrymen is good, but my neighbors are bad. Don't bring this, cripple-mindedness into this. If you want to be a worldwide movement, where every individual you want to bring into this movement, you cannot have this cripple-mindedness. Yes? So it was a very large, all-embracing consciousness in his project. So it's very careful. So the Swajana concept, my own men, either as my family, or as my community, or as my country, is not the platform of the Vedas. Still high. Therefore the sannyasis used to embrace the whole world. Sannyasi means, there was somebody I heard, he is the brother of Madhvacharya. And he approached Madhvacharya, give me sannyas later. He said, why, what do you want to do? I want to go to forest. He said, no, not for that. Sannyasi means you give a small family and take the whole world as a larger family. Right? So that is the whole conception of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Whole earth is my family. Huge joint family. And then if you look in a higher sense, yes, all of us are children of Krishna. So we all belong to actually Krishna's family. We all belong to Krishna's family. All of us are members of Krishna's family. Correct? Because all of us are children of Krishna. So in that way, it's a very viral concept. Swajana. Swajana is now come on by Krishna's arrangement. Now Maya has touched his consciousness. The Swajana movement comes from his mouth, means Maya is present. Okay? My own men, it's like it is there. Particularly when they go to foreign country, you find another Indian, they feel, oh, my own men. My own men. Particularly certain communities in India are very attached. I don't think in North India we have so much attachment, but in South Indian, Tamil, Malayali, a terrific attachment. Malu and Tamil, Telugu people, strong attachment. South India it is more that language consciousness. You tell somebody I am from Delhi and okay, he will not be very attached to you. We don't have it in North India somehow. South India somehow they have strong attachment. वेपतुश्च शरीरे मे
वेपतुश्च शरीरे मे
रोमहर्षस्य जायते
रोमहर्षस्य जायते
गाण्डीवं संशते हस्तान्
गाण्डीवं संश्लिष्यतान्
त्वच्चैव परिदह्यते
त्वक्चैव परिदह्यते
My whole body is trembling and my hair is standing on end. My bow, Gandiva, is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning.
There are two kinds of tremor to the body and two kinds of standing with the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or under great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow, Gandiva, was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to material conception of life.
Prabhupada is very clear. They're not sparing him. As you know, see, he's another great devotee, Arjuna, another exalted devotee. He is the eternal estate of the Lord. But Acharya is always more due respect for him. But here, when the arrangement of the Lord, he is exhibiting material consciousness. Prabhupada doesn't say, this is all material affection. He is not compromising. Truth is truth. He is telling the truth. This is material consciousness. Because his hairs were rising. The Prabhupada says, hairs rise in two situations. One we all know. What is the situation? One is spiritual ecstasy. And one which is very common to us, fear. When a very fearful condition comes, then also all our hairs rise. So here, which one is Arjuna being experiencing? Material consciousness. So it's not that he's analyzing, he's in spiritual consciousness. No. He's opening the fact at this moment. But Arjuna is kind of material consciousness because of Krishna's arrangement. All these are due to material conception of life. Nacha shaknomi avasthatum
न शक्नोमि अवस्थातुं
Brahmatitva cha me manah
भ्रमतित्वा च मे मनः
Nimittani cha pashyami
निमित्तानि च पश्यामि
Vipiritani keshava
विपरीतानि केशव
I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I foresee only evil. O killer of the Kesi, Amen.
Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stand on the battlefield, and he was forgetting himself on account of the weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in bewildered condition of existence. Bhayam vidya viniveshitaha. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium takes place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only unhappiness in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The word nimitta is significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectation, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is supposed to show disregard for self-interest by submission to the will of Krishna, who is everyone's real self-interest. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle could only be a cause of lamentation for him.
The first thing is that the situation that Arjuna is experiencing, Prabhupada is giving prompt analysis. It is because of excessive attachment. So all of us, we suffer because of excessive attachment. Everything in the life should be done as a duty. On that platform, there was a problem for him. All the problems are coming because of attachment. It's not this war. He has fought many wars before. He has killed so many people. It's not that he doesn't know how to kill people or not kill people. Here the problem is coming, his own Swajana has come on to fight. And Krishna's will also at this moment, he is affected completely by material consciousness. And Prabhupada is quoting the famous shloka, Bhayam Dutiya Veshita Shya Ishada Patyasya Viparya Smriti. The moment we forget Krishna and think about anything else, Bhaya starts. Immediately we are in danger. When we are thinking about Krishna, there is no question of Maya touching us. The moment we forget Krishna and think about anything material, we are in a dangerous condition of life. Because that attachment will throw me in the ocean of material existence. The soul's duty is to be attached to Krishna. And through Krishna, we should be attached to everything else, not disconnected from Krishna. So he is getting attached to his relatives, disconnected from Krishna. Which is wrong. Because it is Krishna's property, it is not his property. Many times he said that when Prabhupada was asked in America, what does your religion teach about how one man relates to another man? Surprisingly, Prabhupada says, we have nothing to do with that. We have to do how we relate to the Supreme Lord. And through Krishna, we relate to everybody else. This is the shloka. Arjuna's mistake is relating to his relatives directly, without through Krishna. Problem. Therefore, Bhaya starts, so much confusion starts. And also, Krishna says, Bhokta Ram Yagna Kusama Sarvaloka Maheswaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. Krishna is the best friend. Has he forgotten that? Looks like he has forgotten. When Krishna is saying kill them, as if Arjuna has something better to do for them. He is better friend of those relatives than Arjuna is thinking he is better well-wisher of the relatives than Krishna, which is a Maya. Krishna is always the best well-wisher. Krishna says kill means it is for the best interest for the living entity, kill him. There is no question of thing. Why? Because Krishna is the greatest well-wisher of every living entity. Arjuna is thinking he can do better than that. So that way it is not correct. So therefore all these illusions are coming. And then Prabhupada continues, everybody interested in himself and his own welfare. But what you forget is that our real welfare is to become Krishna conscious. Arjuna is supposed to show disregard for the self-interest by submitting to the will of Krishna, who is everyone's real self-interest. The conditioned soul forgets this. The real self-interest is to submit to the will of Krishna. And it is not that just theoretical exercise. No, I have to submit myself to the will of Krishna. Then we become Krishna conscious. Arjuna thought victory will be causal limitation. We should submit ourselves to the will of Krishna. Krishna is the best well-wisher. Already everything has been planned. All the objections to Krishna are actually null and void. Because Krishna has already planned everything. It's not that he forgot something. Najasheyo anupashyami
Najasheyo anupashyami
Atva sajanam abhave
Atva
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna
Jarajam sukhani cha.
Jarajam
I do not see any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom or happiness.
Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationship, hoping to be happy in such situations. Under delusion, they forget that Krishna is also the cause of human happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and a person in the renowned order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture are eligible to enter into the sun group, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thought that by killing his kinsmen there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he was not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriya cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has had no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining the kingdom lay in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considered himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration.
So now, because he's feeling, see, his whole mistake is he's assessing this thing based on his own happiness or unhappiness. He's a sinner. I will not be happy if this war is fought. Even morally, this is not the highest platform. We should think little higher. Correct? Nowadays, it is everybody thinks, what is in it for me? Even nowadays, husband-wife divorce happens in days. Why they think, I'm not happy. And the wife dumps the husband and husband. Suddenly they get up one morning, sometimes 20 years of marriage, I'm not happy. And they just leave and dump and go, walk away. That has become. So there is no higher principle. People don't think about anything larger at that point. It's not good. Arjuna is also exhibiting, not on that low platform, but at least he's saying, I'm not happy. I'm not happy by killing my kids. His whole focus is his own happiness or unhappiness, which is not a good platform. That's why it is. And Prabhupada is making a joke here. He said that people forget Krishna. And they think by maintaining a band of relatives around us, we will be very happy. People consider life successful. We have a big house, we have this, we have this, we have this. All material arrangements are fine. They think they're going to live forever. Even for material happiness, you cannot have it without Krishna's blessing. Therefore, Prabhupada gives that famous joke, or what is that? Correct? Prabhupada is saying here, people forget that even for material happiness, we need Krishna for this. Even spiritual happiness is the other side. Even material happiness cannot come independent of Krishna. The famous thing, Prabhupada says, Purar Mushiko Bhava. When a rat goes to a sage, he says, cat is troubling him, so become cat. The cat goes, dog is troubling him, so okay, become dog. The dog goes, the tiger is troubling, okay, become tiger. And then after that, as the tiger is staring at the sage says what? Punar Mushiko Bhava. You become a rat again. The whole idea of Punar Mushiko Bhava is that by Krishna's arrangement, today we may be in comfortable position, but don't forget that we become tiger because of Krishna's blessing. Whatever material arrangement we have, it is not independent of Krishna's blessing. Always we should know it is because of Krishna's blessing. So we should not forget that. So because of Krishna's blessing, we are having some material arrangement with us today. Don't forget that. Otherwise, you lose that also. Just like Prabhupada when he was in America, he said that by Krishna's blessing, you are a rich country today. Don't forget that. If you forget that, Punar Mushiko Bhava, just watch, Prabhupada said. So many empires are finished in this world, like Roman Empire, British Empire. Recently, Britain, Russia made a comment, there's a small island that nobody bothers about. Actually, at one point, and their ego is hurt like anything. All they are commenting, how could you speak like that? Ego is old, but the fact is fact. At one time, it was like the world #1 empire. Sun never sets on that empire, they used to say. And today, even small countries are making fun. What is it, a small island, nobody bothers about. It's not at all in any international solution, nobody cares what this is. So things have changed so drastically. You cannot believe this can happen. Similarly, India was also ruling the whole world 5,000 years ago. Today, who will believe that? Nobody will. And a country with the highest values, today they say the most corrupt country. The highest values. You can't believe it can change like that. The same way, Prabhupada told them today America will be superpower. That is by Krishna's blessing. Don't forget that. If by opulence you become proud and you decry Krishna, you go to lose everything. So Prabhupada is therefore making a point under delusion that forget that Krishna is also the cause of material. So we should always be thankful to Krishna for whatever. In fact, it is said that opposite psychology is there. Devotee, when he gets some opulence, he thanks Krishna. He says, I don't deserve it, Krishna, but you're so kind, you have given me this. And he uses it to worship Krishna with more enthusiasm. Just like it happened to Krishna's friend Sudama. When he became very opulent by Krishna's grace, he only thought, I'll use this to worship Krishna nicely. And when devotee is in distress, he feels that actually I deserve more suffering. But Lord Krishna is so kind, he has reduced it. I am just suffering little. Non-devotee is reverse. When he has some opulence, he takes whole credit and is very proud about it. Yes, I did it. They always take credit. I did it. I worked hard. And when they lose something. Non-devotee curses God. See, I am such a nice man. Why did you do this to me? Okay, so bringing Krishna in center will save so many problems. Kim no rajena govinda,
किं राजेन गोविन्द
kim bhoge jivitena va,
किं भोगे जीवितेन वा
yeshamarte kamshitam no,
येषामर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो
rajyam bhoga sukani cha,
राज्यं भोगसुखानि च
तानि मे अवस्थिता युद्धे,
शुद्धे
तानि मे अवस्थिता युद्धे,
तानि मे अवसर्युते
प्रणाम त्यक्त्वा धनानि च,
त्यक्त्वा धनानि च
आचार्या पितरः पुत्रः,
आचार्य पितरः पुत्रः
दैव च पितामहः,
दैव च पितामहः
मातुला श्वशुरा पौत्रः,
मातुला पौत्रः
शालः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा, एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि,
एताहरामिच्छामि
ज्ञातोऽपि मधुसूदनः,
ततोऽपि मधुसूदनः
अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य
त्रैलोक्यराजस्य
हेतो किं नो मही कृते,
हेतुर्किमहीकृते
निहत्याधार्तराष्ट्रान्नः,
आग्रहराष्ट्राणः
का प्रीतिः स्वजनार्दनः. O Govinda, or whatever else, the kingdom, happiness in life itself, and all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this matter. O Madhusudana, when the teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, all relatives are ready to give up their life and property that are standing for me, then why should I kill them? Even though I may survive. O maintainer of all creatures, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the 3 words, let alone this earth.
Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for powers in the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates what will satisfy his senses. Although Govinda is not meant to satisfy our senses, if we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for common community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed in the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life is, however, different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a far thing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreant. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them.
So here many things are there in the shloka. First thing is the word Govinda. Now Govinda means the technically that word means who gives pleasure to the cows. Go means cow. It has another meaning. Go also means the senses. Now, Govinda then means person who gives pleasure to the senses. So he is therefore referring Krishna, oh Govinda, why you want to fight? Because you are supposed to give pleasure to my senses and you are not doing that. Technically. You are supposed to please me because your name is Govinda. But Prabhupada says, actually, this is not a very good attitude. Rather, we should feel that's why most of the people go to temples, churches and all, place of worship. My Lord, please me. They want to use Lord for their pleasure. They go with the list, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this. The basic idea is, I want to be happy, you please participate in this. I want to use you for my pleasure. Therefore, I told you, so-called Astik are also useless. Nastik, who don't believe. And Astik is that they go, but they are not on the platform of pure devotion. Because they are demanding, make me happy. My Lord, make me happy. But Prabhupada is saying, actually, if you take the reverse attitude, which is actually very confidential, which is not easily bestowed, which is called bhakti, that is because until a person is covered by thick layers of desire for sense gratification, theoretically, he can, just like I told you, a drug addict steals from the father's pocket also. But till the desire of sense gratification is intense in our heart, we cannot even dream of having bhakti, because bhakti is something else. Person is not asking the Lord for any material pleasure. Rather is thinking, my Lord, how do I please you? This is unique, very advanced. The Prabhupada says if you can come to that platform, don't worry. Not all your desires will also be satisfied. But don't, just like Dhruva Maharaj. But he went to Krishna desiring a kingdom greater than his grandfather. And he worshipped Krishna. But finally, when he worshipped Krishna and he pleased Krishna by his austerities, Krishna not only gave him darshan and spiritually blessed him, satisfied the material desires also. The devotee should not ask, because Prabhupada says here, the Lord will satisfy sense of the devotees, giving it as much as they deserve, but not to the extent they may covet. Because that is a very unique thing. The Devatas, they may give things even though you don't, at that point, it's not good for you. But Krishna, being the Supreme Father, does not do that. If it is not good for you, he will not give. You keep praying, I want. Krishna feels, what is going to do with that? So Prabhupada says something more in the purport, is the attitude of the devotees of material opulences like that. Is that, Lord willing, if he gives me opulence, I accept it. But if he keeps in a poverty situation, that also I accept it. I accept the situation in which I have been kept by the Lord. Without this, we can't follow any rules and regulations. Prabhupada says, first thing in life is that we should have complete peace of mind. Correct? We can have peace of mind only when we accept the situation we have been given by the Lord. We are very peaceful, satisfied. It will be very satisfied in our mind. Because if we are not, just like suppose we are working somewhere, and whatever power, position which have been given to you by the employer, if you are not satisfied by that, then you will never be happy in working there. Lord, they are not giving me proper salary, they are not giving me proper. Then always he is working, and then there is office politics, gate that goes on. It's a hell that is created. Okay? And people live with that whole life. Actually, negative energy is dumped a few days in our life, but somehow I have seen day after day they are seeing each other's face and they are having politics going on. So a person, point is that Krishna is supreme controller. Whatever position we are in, whatever situation we are in, we should be satisfied with it. Not that we are looking at Krishna and that, why he has done like this. No. We should be satisfied in whatever. Therefore it is said, if somebody is on that platform, he can go back to God. Okay? Yaste tapte anukampana susukshmana punjana. Hedva Gopobi, Hedva, with his heart, with his words, with his body, he continuously serves the Lord independent of whatever situation God has given him. Even in the most miserable condition, he accepts it. My Lord, I accept it. It is for my own purification, out of your mercy, you have placed me in this condition. This platform that we have, where is the anxiety? Where is the anxiety? We unnecessarily create so much anxiety. Attention. Arey, whatever situation you are in, it is given by Krishna. Just accept it. And then you become so peaceful and happy in your mind. Okay? So Arjuna is in a very testing situation. Yes, it is very testing situation. I don't think we can even stand there. First, we are not Kshatriya. We can't stand there in that condition. None of us will be able to handle it. But being a pure devotee of the Lord, he should be on another platform. Ridvan, by my body, by my words, by my heart, I will serve Krishna. This is for my own purification. Krishna has arranged this condition. And then Prabhupada is saying the last thing in this purport is that devotee does not want to retaliate against him. Even if somebody does harm to him, devotee forgives this. But Krishna does not forgive him. Punish him for the nonsense he is doing. And that is the reason actually we can understand in one sense, Krishna is speaking to, Arjuna is speaking to Krishna. Krishna, can you forgive them? He knows Krishna is with him now that death is imminent. Can you forgive them? Krishna says, no, kill them. So he has to now accept Krishna's will. Krishna's will is Nimitra Matrena Bhavasavasa. Just become an instrument, Arjuna, then dead. They're not going back home. Papam eva shedasman Dvaitana tataina Tasmanara vayam hantu Artarasham sabandhava Sujanam hi katam hatva Sukina shyama madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. 1. A poison giver. 2. One who sets fire to the house. 3. One who attacks with deadly weapons. 4. One who plunders riches. 5. One who occupies another's land. And 6. One who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting for any ordinary man, but Arjuna was not an ordinary man. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people were anxious to leave in his kingdom, Rama Raja. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because he kidnapped Rama's wife Sita. But Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, old teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe step necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefore are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not have to induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees.
So there are 2 things there. Number one is that aggressor. Just like in a Delhi case we had that the girl was finally killed by that and raped and killed by some people. And many, when the decision occurred, some countries of the world which have abolished capital punishment, like England, they spoke against it. What is all this? We should not do all this. But actually, this is cowardice, not to kill. For a Kshatriya, to see somebody harming somebody and killing him, to give him a punishment, not to give him punishment is cowardice. And the family is now satisfied. The family who lost the daughter, they say, now some kind of pain is relieved. Yes, he has to be punished. The person has to be punished. In fact, if you don't punish him by your so-called laws, God's laws are not going to spare him. Much more severe punishment will come. Therefore, king, when he kills somebody who has done a murder, they are all done murder actually, and he gives him capital punishment, it's a favor because it is saved from over suffering. Parikshit Maharaj knew that. When he did a small mistake of putting a dead snake over the head of the sage, what did he do? When coming back, he was praying, how did it happen from myself? The Shamika Rishi had put a dead snake. He said, let the punishment come quickly so I'll get reformed and I doesn't go to such activity. And when he heard the death penalty, he welcomed it. I deserve it. He was praying, I should be punished for this. How did I do such an activity? But people is a different life form today. They don't agree. Till the last, some of them, the last minute, some of them were saying, I am innocent. Then he deserves to be killed anyway. This is one part. So there were 6 kind of aggressors. So cowardice is not something which is in the part of the Vedic culture. So somebody was saying, a big joke, suppose say to America that I will throw a bomb on you. What you will do? America said, they will finish you. They went to England, they said, I throw a bomb on your country, what do you do? We will attack you. Immediately. They ask India, what do you will do? They will not play cricket with you. That's all they do. No, you have to attack. You have to attack. Otherwise, you cannot collect taxes from the public. Because people want, the only reason we give tax to the government, philosophically, they give us protection. If our life is not protected and somebody is attacking and you will not play cricket match with you, that's all, then you don't collect 1 rupee tax. You have no right to collect tax then. You have no right to collect any tax then. If you can't give protection, you cannot collect tax. And people, ordinary man in the street going to market is scared that maybe a bomb is put here and it may happen, then we should not give any tax to the government. It doesn't deserve to collect tax. The only reason government collect tax is to give protection. That is the first business of the government. So that people can also do. So we need protection. That's why we appoint somebody, please arrange protection for us, and 25% of my profit I am going to give to you. That's what they take more than that rather. 20, 30, average is up to 25 only. So they take, previous Vedic system was 25%. Whatever profit you have, give tax. Only one tax, not 100 kind of taxes to pay, one tax. Whatever profit you make, 25%. If no profit, no tax. So anyway, that was the system. So this is important that administrator, this was a wrong idea which came from Gandhi, non-violence. Non-violence is not in administration. It is in another area. And then he uses the word Madhava for Krishna here. And Prabhupada says Madhava means husband of goddess of fortune. So Krishna, you are supposed to bring fortune for us, but you are bringing misfortune for me now. What kind of Madhava are you? So Prabhupada at the end writes, God, it is not like that. Krishna, however, never bring misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. No way. Krishna always keeps devotee in a comfortable condition. There is no question of devotee being unfortunate or without opulences. Krishna keeps devotees always comfortable. That is always there. In fact, that is the way to become fortunate. If you serve Krishna, Lakshmi automatically comes and it stays. When you worship Narayana, Lakshmi comes and it stays. The Devata worship, then Lakshmi becomes Chanchala. That comes and it goes. Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki.